Welcome back to the Juicery Series Podcast, and we have been talking about every single thing. So much is too much to mention. So make sure you go back through some of our previous series and just, really take notes, bring out your pen and your pad, and really apply some of the tools that we are sharing here tonight. Again, the information that we are sharing is neither true nor false, and we invite you to try it out and notice the cause and effect relationship of your life, and also, more importantly, notice the results that you will or may achieve. /may achieve. All right, Mick. So let's just jump straight in. Let's talk about nutrition, because we've talked about conditions and, the how that plays out physically in our body, from relating it to a car and having a backed up oil filter or, oil, air filters and everything else, to thought and emotions, to the root cause of physical ailments. And so let's just talk about, again, nutrition. Let's say for a mother or father who are working very often and they have children, and they know that they're on the caffeine. They know they're probably on more sugary items than they want to be, but that's the only way they know how to keep going, because that's the only thing they've ever really done it. But they're ready to make some changes. So what can be some simple steps to start to turn that around? Or let's just lay out the foundation for them. Maybe simple says just lay out a foundation of what that looks like in that life, or a life for a person who would like to choose healthy foods.
Well, first of all, the idea that we're talking about here is how to properly fuel the body. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've all proven how miraculous the body is, because if you put diesel in your gas tank, the engine wouldn't even run. Or if you put diesel in your, gas in your diesel tank, the diesel engine wouldn't run. But the human body, you put all kinds of garbage in it and it keeps on going. And so what we're talking about is what fuel would you use in the body? Let's start with principle again. Okay, the intestinal tract is actually the core of the entire body, and the content of that intestinal tract is what determines the content and the quality of the blood. And the blood determines the health of the body. So when you really stop and think about it, what we put in our mouths is very important, because from one end of that tube to the other, it's always influencing the blood. If it's digested and it has the nutritional content, it will become part of our blood, feed the body, repair and replace cells. When it gets to the other end, if we have a proper balance of the flora, it's not going to poison the bloodstream, because there's a lot of talk about the proper flora of the intestinal tract, but not a lot of explanation as to why. Well, if you stop and think about it, the colon is actually our water conservation program of the body. And the body is pulling the fluids out of that waste material all the time. Well, you stop and think about how toxic that fluid could be. Yes. That's coming into the bloodstream 24 hours a day. That's the purpose of the friendly flora, is to neutralize the toxicity so that water that comes from the fecal waste doesn't poison us. And there's terms that we use when that is being recycled into the body, and it makes us not feel so well.
People are back there full of... yeah.
So anyway, children are easy. Children are easy because the only tough thing about children is because all the other kids at school and everything, they're eating junk food and snacks and candies and all this stuff. And if you're trying to help your children to be healthy, it's really, really difficult. So what you're going to have to do is come as close to that junk as you can, but just put as much nutrition in it as possible too. Mm-hmm. And too, when the children are at home, that's the time that you can really do good things. The greatest food for all of us would be the juice of plants. And so that's where a mother can really, that's why I love the work that you're doing, because if a mother had that juice available, she could give that to the kids, and they're getting the minerals. We eat vegetables for the minerals. And it's like Carrie Reams once said, you can take every health problem in the world and trace it back to a mineral deficiency.
Yes.
Where do we get our minerals from? From vegetables. We get our vitamins from fruit, and we get carbohydrates and proteins from other foods. But the basis, the foundation of our bodies is actually minerals, and how many kids eat enough vegetables. And another thing that you got to keep in mind is with our teeth, we have 0 cellulase in the body, and that's the enzyme that breaks fiber down. And so the cells that miss our teeth go right on through, and we don't get the groceries inside those cells. That's why chewing is so important.
Mm-hmm,
but I love your machine because it chews it complete.
For what Mick's talking about, Home Juicery is a cold pressed juicery. So that's what Mick is discussing. In our bottles, we have about 2 to 3 pounds of food per bottle. So it's literally.
How many people are going to chew that much vegetable?
Exactly.
And leave it raw. Okay, so you go from the foundation of that. Now here's the problem: is once we get up beyond 40 years of age, where does the pancreas come up with the enzymes to digest our food from? Mm-hmm. It's from our battery. And every 40-year-old knows that the battery is pretty well dead by that time because we wasted all that energy in our 20s and 30s.
What would we call the battery? You said our battery.
The life energy.
The life energy.
Yeah. We don't have an organ like a battery, but it's what we call the metabolic enzyme pool. It's the whole energy of the body. And every time we eat a cooked meal, it's a sacrifice of our lives. And so what we need to do is plan our dietary needs ahead of time. The better we can plan ahead, the better off we're going to be. Like kids' snacks, hey, grapes are fantastic. And you look at different fruits, little carrot sticks. Kids love carrot sticks. Little things like that, celery with a little bit of tahini on it or peanut butter or whatever. But come up with as many neat little snacks as you can, little vegetable juice. To get the intestinal tract moving, you could soak some flaxseed overnight and blend that into a smoothie. But there's a lot of practical things that moms can do at home to take care of the kids. So if you are sending things that might not be quite as healthy as you want, at least you know you're making up for it at home, and they can be in the form of raisins and a few things in their snacks, a trail mix or something. But just kind of think, okay, I got to fuel my child, because if that child is getting fueled properly and you use something like the flaxseed to make sure that the exhaust system is working well, then the child won't develop problems. Another simple thing is a child, by the time they're 8 years old, it doesn't hurt at all to have them do a detox bath, clean the blood and lymph. I have to laugh because I think about my youngest son. When he was about 8 years old, he had a real bad flu. And so his mom and I got him 16 ounces of prune juice and said, okay, drink this. We created diarrhea, first of all. And then after the diarrhea slowed up, we gave him a bag of the detox spa, and we said, okay, do a detox bath now. We taught him how to do that. He was so impressed with how fast that turned everything around that now at 17, he's at school, and one of the kids comes down with the flu. Hey, okay, you got to create diarrhea, and then I'll get you this bag of powder. You put it in the bathtub, and you do a detox bath. You're good to go tomorrow.
Awesome.
And if it's one of these flus that would normally hang on for 2 weeks, remember, with a cold or flu or whatever, it's not the virus. That's only a trigger. It's like a pistol. Nobody's ever been hurt by a trigger. The bullet is the accumulated garbage, those 8 items that accumulates in the body. So now all of a sudden diarrhea is your friend. Mm-hmm. You clear that garbage out, do a detox bath, clear it out, and if you have to, if you have to really get tough with it, do a bunch of vitamin C. But you're still extending out to 2 days, maybe 3 days, instead of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or so on. It's just the body trying to clear up. If we would honor colds and flus and support them properly, we're not going to create the other problems, because that's what all these other diseases are, is suppressed colds and flus, and that substance building up. We're busy treating symptoms, which are the little red flags that are telling us, hey, you got deeper problems going. So instead of supporting the body and getting rid of that substance that disease is made of, we take whatever we can to stop the reaction and accumulate this stuff, because it makes us comfortable faster. Well, without
Yes.
understanding these principles, we are creating that disease that we fear. And that's where it's really all about is, starting with children and help them to learn how to keep things moving through, clear it out of the body, and don't put so much of the garbage in that will become disease. If children understood all of the principles that we're talking about, and if they were taught in school the same things, there's no reason whatsoever for them to create a degenerative disease.
Even to that, children and the adults. But everyone. I think it's just it works all the way around.
The quality of anybody's health is determined by the lifestyle habits that they follow. And for every self-destructive lifestyle habit, well, in fact, every one of us, every human is self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a whole lot better to be 1% self-destructive than 100%. So we're always working toward the shallow end of the pool of self-destruct. And the more we learn, the better we can do. And yes, even adults, when they realize that their habits are self-destructive, and that's what creates problems. There's no external force here trying to destroy us. And heaven knows the microorganisms aren't programmed to kill us. All they're concerned about is what's for lunch. And if we look like catering trucks again.
So just even going back to some of our earlier conversations, the environment in which we are holding inside ourselves is creating an invitation for these organisms to come in. And if it's a really nice house, with plenty of food, it's like, why am I going to leave? Hey, and I'm going to invite my friends. And not only going to invite my friends, I'm going to invite my friends that I don't even, their friends, and maybe even some people I don't even like because it's a nice, and then it's a party. And then that party shows up in ways in which we may not necessarily understand why. And as a result of that, we begin to have certain ailments.
Exactly.
And then, go ahead.
No, what you're proving by that statement is that it really wasn't the maggots that killed the animal in the forest. The maggots are looking for the rotting food waste. That's all viruses, bacteria, and all these Earth's cleanup committee is looking for is what's for lunch. And our undigested food residue, dead tissue cells, and all this waste material that the body isn't able to get rid of is a food chain for these organisms.
No, Mick, I know we talked about, we may have touched on this earlier. There are so many ways in which, because I remember hearing you say that when someone's truly healthy, there is no illness that resides.
It
can't be there.
It's impossible.
And if I'm going into a house and the refrigerator's empty, I'm not going to stay there long. Nobody's home and the refrigerator's empty, I'm leaving. So with that said, you feel that there, in some ways, there may be an environment set up, really where we live, maybe sometimes in more of a Western sect, or even here in Bermuda, there may be more of an environment set up that is creating a place for us to be sometimes unwell, even though it is still our choice. So not to say that we're victims. That's not what I'm saying here.
Right.
Like, it's that did it. Because right, I think our conversation is knowing and having the power of choice amidst all the choices that are available.
Right.
But still in relating to that, saying that there can be more choices available, and why aren't there?
Well, let's look at one thing that I've noticed in Bermuda. There's an underlying tension here because it is a little bit expensive to live here, and that it puts a little bit more pressure on everybody.
Really speak to that. Absolutely. Holding down $1 million mortgage. Well, you can. I'm Mick, I'm telling you, you're hitting something that you're leaning on something real hard, Mick.
Okay.
Because other individuals, like in other places, $1 million mortgage may not even be something that they would ever even think about.
Right.
Not even. And here it's just like, oh yeah, I got 1.2 on my house, and I remember moving here, I was thinking like, that's just, what do you mean? Like, for that?
Well, of
you
course.
want 1.3 for what? For 3 bedrooms? What do you?
Of course, that's not stressful. And your bones aren't being pulled to sedate you.
Yeah. But that's just so. Come on.
What we're talking about here is the essence of life, which is the real secret of all of life. Is the essence of life, which is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the worst thing you can do with those parasites and bacteria and everything, you get your vitality up to here. They hate it. A person with high vitality that isn't being stressed out and sedated by their own calcium, you get that vitality way up here, and everything starts working. If the body has enough energy, it could heal itself of pretty well anything. But with a dead battery, what can it do? When we were kids, our battery was full of energy. We had plenty of energy. We'd get a cut, clean it, put a Band-Aid on it, get on out and get to playing again. But back then, if we got tired, we'd lay down on the floor and sleep. We didn't care. Mm-hmm. But now it's sociably unacceptable for adults to lay down on the floor when we're tired. And two, we got to push ourselves till bedtime, and then we usually have too many things to do. So we're busy exchanging our life for accomplishment. Then if we have any energy left, we half-heartedly digest our food, and heaven's sakes, all these damages that we've accumulated, there's no energy to go back and heal any of that.
Yes.
And look how much longer it takes each decade that goes by for the body to heal anything. So the secret of life is the essence of life, which is energy, and we're like a sieve. We have so many energy drains. If you compared our energy to money, the average 45-year-old is energetically bankrupt, and from there on, they learn how to survive with that almost dead battery. Get a little bit of energy, burn it out. Get a little bit of energy, and here's where the energy should be. So what I would challenge everybody to do is realize, okay, since we're energetically bankrupt, and since we're going to be living longer, why not live at a higher quality? And you think about a kitten. That battery is completely full. That's why they could sit there with a piece of yarn like this and play for an hour. And you think, oh my gosh, I wish I had that much energy.
So being able to live longer, would that mean that I have to have discernment between my want and my need, my expectations, and notice maybe where those are leading me?
And your priorities.
And my priorities. And what is the true priority of my essence, of my being, of my life force?
And since your life force colors every experience in your life, that life force, that energy is everything. Because we're talking about a parallel here. The energy in that battery and the quality of your experiences of life. It's not an endurance test. Everybody that we know of right now that's in their 90s and 100, they're barely just able to move. My goal, I got 2.5 more years before I'm 70, and so my goal is I want to be 35 by the time I get to 70, because at 70, that's halfway through. So the second half of my life, I want to be enjoying the heck out of it. A million thoughts again.
Yeah. Well, this time there was no thought. This time it was a beingness with exactly everything that is.
Feeling the reality of it.
Just feeling and actually seeing. Because for me, I'm a bit weird. As you're talking, I actually start to see pictures.
Yeah.
And in that, like, I'm listening and I'm seeing pictures of I'm weird. So as I am weird. As like a new reality for people.
Yeah.
Like it is like a vision that comes in where people
it's totally
are
off the wall.
Yeah, where people are starting to really come into themselves, and it's actually happening now. I mean, let me tell you something. Over 10 years, I would say probably about 16 years ago, there was only one organic owl here on this island.
Yeah.
Only one.
Yeah.
Only one.
Yeah.
And that was just like, and the healthy organic owl where you can go into the grocery store.
Oh, okay.
And it was really no healthy options in the grocery store.
Right.
Not like nowhere near it is where it is today.
Yeah.
And I say that as a result of how many leaps and bounds have been taken, not only in our country, but in other countries as well.
Sure.
And I have no doubt that as a result of this conversation and all the other conversations that are happening at the exact same time right now in this moment of now, that we're all creating a ripple effect for people to really feel in their life, and for people to really be transformed in their life.
Sure.
And that's why that's the picture that I saw as you were speaking.
It's a good picture. Good.
So Mick, I mean, we've talked about so much. I do have one last one. If it was a guy, because I have got this guy like this. I have a guy, high end business, corporate exec.
Yeah.
Preston, I'm not going to eat anything. I don't feel like it. I have the dinners, I have my wine, I have my meetings. But you know what? I'm still open to a little bit of health. I still like my little bit of health. Is there something that they can take, a person can take, that they could receive all their nutrients? Like maybe even something that you have available, something that they can take, that again they can pour it into the juice, or and then keep it moving.
Well, that's what we've been doing.
Yes.
At the gym this week, is we'd get your juices, and I have a product called Essential Light that has, you reach back 50 years, and the supplements were basic kelp, brewer's yeast, molasses, things like that, whole food concentrates. And then the industry found that they could make more money by isolating the vitamins, minerals, and making more products. But, the body doesn't recognize those things.
Come on, Mick. Yes.
The body only recognizes food because the body sees it almost like a computer with zeros and ones. The body sees certain patterns in food, and it knows what to do with that. And so we put together a combination of these whole food concentrates. And so what we've been doing all week is every time we get hungry and feel like we need to fuel up properly, we just grab one of your juices and put a tablespoon or so of the Essential Light in it, shake it up, drink it down, we're fueled. And it's satisfying because when the body gets actual food like that, real food, along with the juices with all the minerals, it's satisfied. You can almost hear yourself singing.
Yes.
It's a satisfied feeling. Plus, your body is a manufacturing plant, and it doesn't have to process and eliminate all this bulk waste. Most of all of that we drink goes directly into the bloodstream. There's no processing, there's nothing. It's just fuel. Yeah.
What you guys don't know is Mick is about 190 years old. That's what he hasn't told you. What's that bad part movie with Brad Pitt? He was like lived through all those centuries of lifetime. Not saying you're a vampire, but All right, Mick. So how can people get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way from here is to get on the website, www.35forlife.com. And I've got a work permit for the next year, so I'll be coming back probably every second month.
Come on now.
And get a hold of you.
Yes.
Or Teresa Perozzi.
Yes.
And you're welcome to come on over, and I'll do a health screen on you and help you to understand what's really going on inside and what to do about it.
And his health screens are awesome. I mean, let me tell you firsthand. So I had the health screen. I get to see first. Take a little bit of the blood. It doesn't hurt.
Two drops.
Yeah, 2 drops. It doesn't hurt. I didn't even feel. I was like, hold on, you took that? So people who are a bit leery of needles, you can just forget about it. It's so simple, so easy. And then after that, I get to see my blood all on the screen, like my actual cells. I get to see myself in real time in this moment of now on a screen.
It's a visual evaluation.
It's absolutely amazing. And then I saw my immune system on the screen. I saw my structure, my physical, the integrity of the body, integrity of body on the screen.
Free radical activity, function of your organs.
I mean, and it's undisputable. It's like, oh, no, it's not even anything. You got to send something away. Lab results is like, no, this is where I am right now, and that could change next week, next month. Would you say?
Well, the live blood is changed every 120 days, but the dry sample is structure. It's the sum total. So it tells where you really are. But
yes.
The live blood lets us know what you've been eating, basically, and how you're living your life, and how you're feeding your candida fungus. Little details like this.
Yeah, I can see somebody now. Oh my gosh, I saw my candida today, and we're having we're breaking up. Yeah, we're breaking up with my candida as a result of this session. Mick, what would you like to leave our audience with today?
My whole focus in life is I want to benefit the lives of everybody that I can because of the education, the background, my research. It's like an old person that has lived on the planet for decades and decades and learned so many things, and seeing most of the people in the world living life the hard way. I want to make it easier. I want to say, hey, there's an easier way. You don't have to wait till you're diagnosable. You can find out what's going on 10 years ahead of time, correct the causes, and sidestep that bullet in the future. Disease is unnecessary. It's basically an ignorance problem. And ignorance isn't a bad thing. It just means that you haven't been given that information. I've gathered that information, and I want to share it with everybody I can.
So be it. So be it. Family, as we turn our attention inward, we want to give thanks in this moment for all the information that has been shared with us today. And notice the simplicity of this information. Notice the effects and notice the resonance of it, where it sits in your being, in your mind, in your heart, in your toes, in your fingertips. And we invite you, as you step into your next moment of now, to try something out that you may have heard on this podcast series with Dr. Mick Hall, Naturopath. We invite you to take ownership of your life. We invite you to take and be responsible for the choices and the decisions that you're making in your life, and notice the cause and effect results. And with that, we thank you and we welcome you to listen to not only this series, but other series that we will be made available here on the Juicery Podcast series. All right, family. One more thing. Make sure you go to Juicery, www.omjuicery.net, to pick up some cold pressed juice cleanses, and you can add Dr. Mick Hall's Essential Light into that so you can get some clean, high quality burning fuel in your life. Jet fuel. There it is. Jet fuel in your life. So it has been, we've had an awesome time. Thank you so much, Dr. Mick Hall, for coming in.
Me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And again, I'm not even say hope. I just know that this is what's needed more so right now as we enter into the age of Aquarius. All right, family. Peace. And we'll be speaking with you very soon.